Red warning lights flashed across Wall Street on March 27th this year. That's the day China dropped an economic bomb onto America. Massive 4% tariff is on all their $8 billion worth of U.S. goods. Not some fancy luxury products, but things you and I buy every week. Oh, beef for your family dinners, corn that goes into countless foods, and the natural gas that heats millions of homes. This isn't just some boring news about foreign policy. This is about your grocery bill going up, your heating costs rising, your paycheck not stretching as far as it used to. Financial experts are warning that these Chinese tariffs, combined with President Trump's decision to slap his own tariffs on the $200 billion of Chinese imports, could push inflation up by 1% in just 3 months. That might not sound like much, but it's a huge jump that hits working families the hardest. Think about it. The single mom working 2 jobs to feed her kids is about to pay more for basic groceries. The retired couple on a fixed income will watch their carefully planned budget fall apart. The young family saving for their first home will see their dream slip further away as everyday costs climb higher. This isn't just numbers on a page. This is real money coming out of your pocket at a time when many Americans are already struggling to make ends meet. How did we get here? When Trump returned to office, one of his first moves was bringing back tough tariffs on Chinese goods. He promised these tariffs would protect American jobs and force China to play fair. But China didn't back down. They hit back where it hurts most. Look at what China targeted. Beef from cattle ranchers in states that voted heavily for Trump. Corn from Midwest farmers who formed the backbone of his support. Natural gas from Gulf Coast states that helped put him in office. This wasn't random. China carefully picked products from regions that supported Trump politically. It's like China opened up an electoral map of the United States, circled all the red states that voted for Trump and said, let's hurt these people specifically. They turned international trade into a weapon aimed directly at Trump's voter base. The cruel irony? Many of these voters supported Trump because they believed his promises about standing up to China and bringing back American jobs. Now they're the ones paying the price, watching their livelihoods become pawns in a global power struggle. For farmers in Iowa and Nebraska who were already dealing with rising costs and unpredictable weather, these tariffs could be the final blow that puts them out of business. For energy workers in Texas and Louisiana, who were told their industry would boom under Trump's second term, export markets are suddenly drying up. And who suffers the most from rising food prices? The very same working-class families that Trump promised to protect. When beef prices jump, wealthy families might grumble but still buy steaks. Working families have to cut meat from their diet altogether. But this fight goes far deeper than just putting taxes on each other's products. China has made a much more dangerous move that few people are talking about. They're choking off America's supply of rare earth elements. What are rare earth elements? They're special minerals with names you might not recognize. Gallium, germanium, and others. But they're absolutely essential for modern life. They're in your smartphone, your computer, your car's electronics, and critically, in America's most advanced military equipment. Here's the scary part. America gets 78% of these crucial minerals from China. We only have one processing plant for them on U.S. soil. That's like having only one water well for most of the country. A single point of failure that puts our entire tech industry and national defense at risk. China knows this power and they're using it. They've already blacklisted 5 major U.S. defense contractors, companies that build the equipment that protects America. But the problem goes even deeper. About 18% of the Pentagon's Tier 2 suppliers, the smaller companies that provide parts to the big defense contractors, depend on Chinese materials. Imagine building the world's most advanced fighter jet, only to discover you can't get the special materials needed for its guidance system, or developing cutting-edge surveillance technology but lacking the components to make it work. This is the predicament America now faces. Military leaders are quietly panicking. National security experts are sounding alarms. But most Americans have no idea how vulnerable we've become by allowing one rival country to control the building blocks of our technological future. There's another American giant taking a beating in this fight, Boeing. Once the pride of American manufacturing, Boeing is watching its position in the world's largest aviation market crumble. Chinese airlines have frozen all orders for Boeing aircraft. Instead, they're buying planes from European manufacturer Airbus and China's own growing aircraft maker Comac. This creates a puzzling contradiction. How can America be winning this trade war, as some politicians claim, when one of our largest exporters is losing access to its biggest market? How can we talk about American manufacturing dominance when our flagship manufacturer is being shut out? Washington tells us everything is under control. Short-term pain for long-term gain, they say. But Wall Street is telling a different story. Investors are nervous. Market analysts are revising growth projections downward. Economic indicators are flashing warning signs. Who should you believe? The politicians who promise everything will work out, or the economic experts predicting serious trouble ahead? The government officials claiming victory, or your own rising bills and shrinking savings? This disconnect between official statements and economic reality leaves most Americans confused and worried. Are we winning or losing? Should we support these policies or oppose them? Is this necessary hardship or needless suffering? Remember when President Trump said trade wars were easy to win? That claim has aged about as well as milk left in a hot car. Turns out, international trade is slightly more complicated than posting angry tweets. We're watching a high-stakes economic chess match while our leaders appear to be playing checkers with monopoly money. I'll trade you Boardwalk for Park Place and throw in some soybeans. The next time someone tells you international trade is boring, remind them it's the reason your coffee now costs more than your Netflix subscription. It's also why that electronics store has empty shelves where the new gaming consoles should be. Isn't it funny how the same politicians who couldn't explain what a supply chain was 2 years ago now position themselves as international trade experts? If economic policy were an Olympic sport, we'd be competing for the participation trophy. And let's talk about those economic advisors on TV, explaining why paying more for everything is actually good for you. Sure, your grocery bill went up 30%, but think of it as patriotic inflation. Thanks. I'll remember that patriotic feeling while eating ramen noodles for the 4th night in a row. President Trump campaigned on the promise to make America great again. His supporters believed tariffs were the magic weapon that would force China to its knees and restore American manufacturing glory. But 2 years into his second term, we need to honestly assess the results. Instead of American greatness, we've got higher prices at stores. Instead of China begging for mercy, they're accelerating plans to become independent from America. Instead of bringing manufacturing back home, we're watching companies flee to third countries to escape the crossfire. Trump promised tariffs would pressure China into submission. The reality? China has dropped its holdings of US Treasury bonds to a 14-year low of just $711 billion. That's their way of saying they're done financing American debt. It's like bringing a water pistol to a gunfight, except we brought the water pistol. His supporters still defend these policies, saying we need to stand tough against China regardless of short-term pain. His critics point to rising costs and market disruptions as evidence the strategy is backfiring. But beyond the political debate lies a simple question. Are average Americans better or worse off since these tariffs began? When a single parent has to choose between paying for pure heat or buying enough food, economic theories about long-term strategic advantages provide little comfort. When a small business can't get the parts it needs and has to lay off workers, talk of standing up to China doesn't pay their mortgages. The numbers tell a startling story about how dramatically things have changed. Trade volume between the United States and China collapsed to $514 billion last year, the lowest level since 2009 during the financial crisis. Economists stress this isn't just a temporary dip, but a fundamental restructuring of the relationship between the world's two largest economies. The integrated global economy that's been built since the 1990s is fracturing along new lines. The smooth flow of goods, services, and capital that we've taken for granted is being replaced by something more fragmented and uncertain. Corporate America isn't waiting around for politicians to figure things out. They're already adapting to this new reality. Apple has shifted 25% of iPhone production from China to India. Tesla secured nickel suppliers in Indonesia to avoid depending on Chinese refineries. Nike, Microsoft, Samsung, all these companies are quietly rebuilding their supply chains to navigate around this conflict. What does this mean for you? Products might come from different countries. Some things might become harder to find or more expensive. The seamless global marketplace we've grown accustomed to is being replaced by something more complicated and less efficient. And while Washington debates policies, businesses are making decisions that will shape the economic landscape for decades to come. They're not waiting for permission or direction. They're following the basic instinct of survival, finding new paths forward while politicians argue about the past. Let's examine the fundamental logic behind these tariffs, because something doesn't add up. The stated goal was to force China to buy more American products, but by putting tariffs on Chinese goods, we made American products more expensive for Chinese consumers. By retaliating with their own tariffs, China made it even harder for their people to afford our exports. It's like trying to get someone to shop at your store by doubling your prices and making it harder for them to get through the front door. The basic math simply doesn't work. These tariffs were also supposed to bring manufacturing back to America. But what's actually happening? Companies are moving production from China to Vietnam, India, Mexico, and other countries almost anywhere but the United States. Why? Because American labor costs are still higher, and now the tariffs have added another layer of complexity and cost. This contradiction reveals an uncomfortable truth. These policies work better as political theater than as economic strategy. They sound tough. They make for great campaign speeches, but their actual economic effects are often the opposite of what was promised. Many economists warned about these flaws from the beginning, but their voices were drowned out by political rhetoric. Markets understand this reality, which is why investors remain nervous despite official optimism. The mathematical formula behind these tariffs produces precisely the opposite of their stated goals, a fact recognized by businesses but often ignored in political discourse. While Americans debate tariffs, China is building alternatives to systems America has dominated for decades. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates now settle some oil trades in Chinese yuan instead of dollars, a direct challenge to the petrodollar system that's been a foundation of American economic power since the 90s. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have developed a payment system specifically designed to bypass SWIFT, the American-dominated network that handles international financial transactions. For the first time in 80 years, the dollar's global dominance faces a serious challenge. These might seem like abstract changes happening far away, but they have real implications for your financial future. The special status of the US dollar has allowed Americans to enjoy lower interest rates, cheaper imports, and higher living standards than we otherwise would have. If that status erodes, everything from mortgage rates to retirement accounts will feel the impact. Your purchasing power, your investments, your job security, all hang in the balance of this geopolitical chess match. The economic architecture most Americans take for granted faces its first existential challenge since World War II. Yet, mainstream financial advice remains largely oblivious to the transformation. Financial advisors still recommend the same investment strategies they've used for decades, as if nothing fundamental has changed. Politicians from both parties continue debates that might have made sense in 2000, but ignore the new reality of 2025. Meanwhile, the ground is shifting beneath our feet. The confusion isn't helped by contradictory messages from our own government. The Treasury Department warns about inflation, while the Commerce Department celebrates export opportunities. The State Department talks tough on China, while the Agriculture Department scrambles to find new markets for farmers hurt by Chinese tariffs. Congressional hearings produce fiery soundbites but few solutions. Some lawmakers demand even tougher measures against China, while others warn about the costs to their constituents. The Federal Reserve raises interest rates to fight tariff-induced inflation, which helps control prices but makes mortgages, car loans, and credit card debt more expensive for everyday Americans. Public confusion has reached unprecedented levels. Should you stockpile products before prices rise further? Convert some savings to other currencies? Restructure your investments? Prepare for layoffs in industries caught in the crossfire? The absence of clear, consistent guidance leaves Americans navigating economic warfare without a map. Small business owners lie awake at night, wondering if their suppliers will still be able to deliver next month. Parents worry about providing for their families as the costs rise faster than wages. Retirees watch anxiously as market volatility threatens their carefully saved nest eggs. This isn't just a policy debate anymore. It's a crisis of confidence in the systems and institutions we've relied on. When you can't trust that the economy will function predictably, when you can't plan for your financial future with any certainty, the psychological impact goes far beyond dollars and cents. The global economy stands at a breaking point, unlike anything we've seen in our lifetimes. The integrated world market built over decades is splintering into competing spheres. New winners and losers will emerge not based on yesterday's rules, but on how well they position for tomorrow's reality. Some industries will disappear, others will suddenly thrive. Financial strategies that worked for decades may fail, while new approaches create unexpected wealth. The question isn't whether these changes will happen now. They're already underway. The question is whether you'll be prepared when they reach your doorstep. In my next video, I'll reveal which sectors face extinction in this new economic landscape and which ones are poised for explosive growth. I'll share specific strategies to protect your finances and possibly even profit while others struggle to adapt. This isn't about politics or taking sides in the US-China conflict. It's about seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it would be. It's about making smart decisions for yourself and your family while there's still time to prepare. Subscribe now and enable notifications so you don't miss this critical information. In times of enormous change, knowledge isn't just power, its financial survival. The great economic decoupling has begun. The rules that governed prosperity for generations are being rewritten. Will you be ready?